Alright, I am back today with a new kind of video, which is about a game series I haven't covered before on the channel, but it is kind of the founding father of all loot-based ARPG type games, which are the normal types of games I cover here. It's Diablo. Diablo is kind of the most storied series in history for this genre, and even if we've moved on to kind of looter shooters, they all really draw their roots from Diablo in some form or another. Right now, we have online BlizzCon going on, which is kind of as awkward as you might imagine it would be, but it's fine. And Diablo has been a major focus of the show so far. Blizzard these days is kind of not a whole lot more than Diablo and Overwatch projects, so that's all they kind of had to talk about. We know for sure, we've heard already that Diablo IV and Overwatch 2 are not coming out this year, but there's still a ton of Diablo news to go through, so I thought I would just cover all three Diablo games that were talked about at BlizzCon so far, and I'm excited for all of them, actually. They're all kind of amazing in their own different ways. We can just start with probably the biggest and most widely spread announcements of the show, which is it's Diablo II Resurrected, the Diablo II remaster that has been rumored for a very long time but is now officially announced. Vicarious Visions, who Destiny players will know did such great work on Destiny 2 content. They have been helping out to remaster that game. It's a remaster, it's not a remake, so it is, it can look somewhat dated because it's a 21-year-old game, and yet what they've shown looks pretty good. Like the updates they've done are really crisp. It looks fantastic, and there's like a 45-minute kind of deep dive into it, and it's clear all the people working on it were really big Diablo nerds originally, and this is a big passion project for them. It's meant to kind of just be a total throwback to Diablo 2, which was, many would argue, it's the highlight of the franchise. I mean, we know that Diablo 3 got better over time, but it's hard to compete with Diablo 2 in many ways, and it appears like some quality of life updates will happen that won't fundamentally change the experience, but may help it kind of move into the modern age. All the old classes are coming back. It's all the content from the original game and expansion will be there, and then most importantly, it's out this year. There's going to be a technical alpha sometime that has not been announced yet that you can sign up for now. I wrote an article about that today. And then it'll probably be out this fall. If they're saying 2021 now, it could always be delayed, as we know. But it does seem very far along based on what they've shown. And I think Activision and Blizzard really want to get a game like that out there because that is clearly going to do very well. I think it's like $40 or something. But it's going to be a big hit. Diablo 2 is a storied game, and I was heavily addicted to it in multiple points during my life. In points in high school, points in college. I was so addicted to Diablo at one point, in order to force myself to stop playing it, I would log into random trading games and then just throw all my gear on the ground for people and then just leave because I literally was too addicted to it. These days, I feel like I might have a little more self-control, and I have actual responsibilities that I can't neglect. So I'm not quite as worried about getting as addicted to it, but I am very much looking forward to it. I will play the hell out of all the classes. It is cross-platform, which is great. So you can play on. It's even on Switch, so you can play pretty much anywhere and have cross-save between all the different things. So I can play console, I can play PC, I can play Switch, I can do anything, and that's fantastic. That is going to be a huge hit. It's very clear. I have total faith in Vicarious Visions' ability to do something like this, and I think it will be a good kind of tide us over thing until Diablo IV. Before we talk about Diablo IV, we can briefly mention Diablo Immortal again, where obviously that was the big running joke of BlizzCon previously, where everyone wanted the Diablo 4 announcement, and instead they got the announcement of a Diablo mobile game. Things have changed a little bit because the game has now had an alpha, and it's very good. I've talked about this before, maybe not on video, but Diablo Immortal is surprisingly fun. The touch controls work extremely well, more so than I would have imagined. And the only reason I didn't keep playing the alpha was because I was told my progress wouldn't carry over, so I didn't want to overgrind it. but it is a streamlined version of essentially Diablo 3, but with all new content, new kind of boss mechanics, like new kind of upgrades since Diablo 3, which was, when did Diablo 3 come out? I don't know, like 7, 8 years ago, something like that. And it is an upgrade in a lot of ways, although you're missing some of the deeper complexity, just based on needing to streamline the game for touch. We didn't get a ton of new information about it this BlizzCon. There's going to be another alpha test. We don't have a release date yet. When I played it, it was really polished. Like I don't know how much work there is left to do on it, but I would hope that we see that out this year and alongside the Diablo II remaster, because it seemed ready to go from what I was playing. Granted, that was only a small section. The next test is supposed to have a new class that we can play, and it's supposed to have some segment of the end game that we can check out. They had riffs and stuff in the alpha, but that went from a game that I was probably going to ignore to something that seems very, very good. And again, maybe not as, it won't be as impressive as Diablo 2 remaster, as addictive, but I think it's going to impress a lot of people when they actually get their hands on it. But ultimately, we are all just substituting in these Diablo games for Diablo 4, which is what we are ultimately waiting for. They have shown a good amount of Diablo 4 stuff at BlizzCon right now. They debuted the new, quote unquote, new rogue class, which is going all the way back to Diablo 1, which had a rogue class, but in practice it looks mainly like a blend of demon hunter and assassin. It's got, you can do throwing knives, you can do rain of arrows, you can do caltrops, and you can build it in different ways and stuff, but it very much seems like a blend of those two classes. Like I didn't play much Diablo 1, so I don't really know what the original rogue played like, but obviously, we're 25 years later here, so it's evolved in significant ways. They talk a little bit about other things that are going on with Diablo 4, like how there's now mounts and like mounted combat and new kinds of traversal and things to find when you explore. There are some PvP components to it, which I'm somewhat questionable about. I don't know how much Diablo needs to focus on PvP type stuff. When they've tried to in the past, it hasn't gone especially well. But we'll see if they can come up with anything new here to make that actually work out. My question, as ever, for Diablo 4 is that everything they show looks like really polished and really far along. But the last time they did this, when they showed off a lot of gameplay, they made it pretty clear afterwards that that wasn't it was like the vertical slice kind of thing. It's like one of those segments that you specifically craft to show off for a show like this, rather than here's where the game is at right now. And I mean, they were pretty upfront about that, which a lot of companies just straight up hide that fact, like Cyberpunk and Anthem and things like that. But so we're seeing rogue gameplay now, but I do kind of have to wonder how far along they are still, and this still seems like a game that might not be here until 2023. I don't know, and whenever they announce it, so okay, it says it's not coming 21. I can see them announcing it would come in 2022. And then I can see it being delayed until 2023, because obviously whatever the first date they pick will be delayed. That's just how it's going to be. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know that we have pretty much the entire teams that did Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 are totally reshuffled. I feel like there's very little carryover between the teams, especially in terms of leadership with all the people that have left Blizzard. But it's hard to deny that, and anything they've shown from Diablo 4 doesn't look great. It's just kind of a matter of, how long it's going to take to get here, because it's been a while already since it was announced, and it's going to be even longer, I think, till we actually get to play it. So that's why we have to use kind of Diablo Immortal and the Diablo II remaster as stopgaps in the interim, which is fine, because obviously those are going to be really fun to play. But it's, everyone's just sort of waiting for the big thing. Diablo seems like it will be a very important part of Blizzard going forward. Diablo has always been a little bit tricky for them, because monetizing a game like Diablo is hard. Everyone, you need games, microtransactions and stuff, but what can you really do with microtransactions in Diablo? Some cosmetic things, wings and pets and things, but they've already said they're not going to sell loot. That is not a thing they're going to do. They're not going to have, and the auction house was their big attempt to try and blends, selling loot while taking a cut of that. That was a disaster, so they're not going to do that again. We'll see what they come up with, but that has always kind of been the tricky part about a modern day Diablo where it's kind of a little hard to monetize past the initial release. Everyone always wants big chunky expansions, but those are expensive and not quite the revenue streams of a normal microtransaction. So I would not be surprised if we see Diablo Battle Pass and things like that as a way to kind of see what they can squeeze out of it. As long as it's not obtrusive, I think it can be fine, and we may not need to repeat another auction house fiasco, but we'll see how it goes. And then Overwatch 2, that's probably not something I'm going to cover on video here. I might cover it once it's out, just to kind of talk about it and see where it's at. The stuff they've shown is cool. It kind of makes me laugh. They're like, look at our character redesigns, and it's like most of the characters with like slightly tweaked armor and beards. It's like some of the stuff they have shown is pretty cool, though. Some of the new maps, they have like new weather systems. I don't really understand fully what Overwatch 2 is going to be still. I know there's PvE content, a lot more PvE content, which is up my alley. So we'll see what happens there. But obviously, I am the most focused on Diablo and Diablo related projects, especially since we're kind of in the wind down phase of the great loot shooter craze. We have Outriders coming up, but past that, it seems like it's mostly just going to be Destiny continuing to do its Destiny thing without really all that much competition, unless we see some grand turnaround from Anthem and Avengers and things like that. The Division 2 is winding down. Borderlands 3 is winding down. So we'll probably have to wait until something like Borderlands 4 comes out. My voice keeps cracking. I know I'm going to get comments about that. I always do. But yeah, and everyone's going to yell that I didn't mention Warframe 2. Warframe and Destiny are kind of the two staples in the genre that will continue on, but Diablo is the OG. I would be amazed if Diablo 4 is not a massive hit when it does arrive, and I will be amazed if Diablo Immortal is not a massive mobile hit, especially in Asia. And I would be amazed if Diablo II Resurrected is not a massive hit as a remaster. I think the Diablo brand is explosively popular for Blizzard, and they are right to probably be leaning into that as hard as they are. It's just taking a long time to get here, because it's been so long since the last truly substantive Diablo content. They've just been doing the seasonal model forever, but Reaper of Souls was, I don't even know when, years and years and years ago. So we've been waiting a while, and between this and Overwatch, this is kind of what Blizzard is doing now. I'm encouraged that Vicarious Visions is now very integrated into Blizzard. I don't know if that's like the best thing for Vicarious Visions, but it certainly gives me faith in Blizzard's future projects because of how good we know that studio is. So maybe they can be the backbone of the whole thing and kind of just be the new Blizzard from the inside out, which I would not say no to. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for all three of these games. I will be covering them here on the channel. I didn't even know really what to title this because there's 3 games to put in there. So we'll figure it out as we go. But I don't know when my next Diablo updates will be, but maybe once the Diablo Immortal alpha comes back, or I get into the Diablo 2 technical test, then we'll have some actual gameplay to look at and talk about. But yep, I'm excited. We'll see what happens, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.